Aloha! Welcome to Live Yoga Channel. This is Tara. I am the metabolic therapist. Tuning in today on Tune In Tuesday for the Trust Your Gut Club. I'm here to share with you all things health and wellness around relieving that digestive stress, especially during this holiday week. So I'm here today. Please, as you join us, feel free to write some questions. I'll keep it anonymous. What's going on for you? How are you taking great care of yourself, emotionally, physically, as well as gauging and tending to our consumption patterns, especially around the holidays, and how that may help or hurt us. So today I want to remind us of the beautiful digestive system. You're probably familiar with this picture. We studied it a lot during anatomy. But this is one that I love to share in that it shares the important piece to consider around our small intestines. They live right here back in the torso, but see how they're all wound up. We'll see here, stretched out. It just goes to show really how long our digestive tract is from the tongue to the anus. And so what happens, what happens in the stomach, in the small intestine, the liver and the gallbladder are helping to provide bile to move things around here. But depending on our stress, our type of food, how heavily sprayed and pesticide ridden it might be, as well as our own bacteria and fungal and all sorts of environments all along not only the small intestine, but here too, this is called the large intestine. It's also known as the bowels or the colon. So here is where lots of stuff can get slowed down, constricted. There can be like constipation, and even subtle constipation can have huge impact on how we feel, especially with like headaches and clarity of thinking and energy, right? We really want to make sure that we have ease in mobility. That's, we have these muscles that move along this digestive tract that move our meals through, and so that our body is supposed to take in what it needs and then relieve what it no longer needs, right? And so, that can get complicated, especially during these holiday times when we might be having more sweets or more foods outside of our protocol or what we may be working with. So again, if you're just joining, please let me know you're here. Send a question, an inquiry around like what kinds of information you'd like to talk about. Because today I want to talk about all things gut mobility and moving things along, because when we can get backed up and not have our regular bowel movements, that in itself can cause a lot of discomfort. But when statistics show that the average American has over 17 pounds of rotting, constipated matter in the guts, that's telling, because our guts, our small intestine and our large intestine, this is where, so we chew it up in the mouth, it goes down the esophagus, and the stomach is where, it's a really hot, high pH, it's acidic, so it's supposed to break down the food, and then the assimilation happens all along the small intestine and the large intestine. Well, when we have trouble here and here, then our absorbability, our ability to assimilate, the best foods ever, we can be eating the best ever, but when our body can't process it well, or when there's constipation, what happens is then the immune system ramps up. And so the body's creating more mucus to try and move things along. Well, that mucus can make us look puffy in the eyes, puffy in the wrists and fingers. The rings might not fit the same. So when we can, sense that inflammation, that's also going along down the digestive tract. So that increase in mucus to help itself can also cause excess mucus can leave us feeling stuffy, just uncomfortable, right? So now we've got even more issues to deal with. We've got to move that mucus all the way down. So, my favorite technique when I'm feeling a little backed up is to, and I may talk about this a lot, but it's so empowering, and it's the idea of letting ourselves rest and digest. And this can happen simply by skipping a meal, And it doesn't mean that we need to starve ourselves by any means. Absolutely not. I'm fully on board for liquid nourishment so that we get plenty of calories, we get plenty of vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. However, when we can take it in a liquid form, and that could look like a bone broth soup, so that we feel nourished and are getting good amino acids and collagen and repair building blocks to the body, so that it can repair itself. So we're supporting that, but then we're also taking in nutrition that is easily absorbable. And so these soups, a bone broth, or I like keto chow is a really great, it's a low carb, prepared a smoothie mix, but it's not it's not thick like a smoothie. But what I'm saying is liquid nourishment, so that the body can easily absorb and assimilate without having to break down the food as well, because there's a lot of energy and effort towards breaking food down. So when feeling backed up, and I do it at least one day a week, I allow my digestion to take a break. And so I'll have soups for lunch, soups for dinner. I have a fat coffee in the morning. And then lots of water, minerals, electrolytes. But then that day becomes like a day of liquids. And, there's a little bit of mind stuff in there, especially when we feel like, we're missing out, or that we're supposed to have, we're supposed to sit down to this full meal. And the truth is, like a standard meal is, especially if it's like salad and potatoes and, a protein source, like when there's a lot of mixed ingredients, the body, can be overwhelmed and confused with trying to sort out all of the nutrients from that. So again, I lean towards simplicity and ease and digestibility. And if one day is too long, simply do it at dinner. Just skip the sit down dinner and have soup for dinner, and have big 2 cups if you want. If you need more, have it, and then have something else, water, tea. Just let yourself keep drinking liquids and rest. And it may take some mental effort. Then you go to sleep, and you sleep. And then in the morning, when I wake up in the morning, I feel brighter. I can see it in my eyes. My belly bloating has gone down. It's an incredible tool that has been used throughout human history. Fasting is fantastic at boosting immunity. Immune function has so much to do with how we feel, how clear we are in our thinking, and how energetic and strong we feel. So I realize there's some beliefs around like, I don't want to starve, and that kind of thing. And I'd love to be that positive voice of what if you gave your body a break from 3 meals a day? Like, do we really need that much, And rather than getting into a whole philosophy, discussion around it. How about skip one meal? Skip one meal, and don't skip it like you're not able to take anything in. There's no like missing out. It's replace it. Replace it with easy to digest and assimilate. The most easy, baby food, if you will, blended soups. There's a company that I love, Oso Bone Broth. They do bone broth, but they also do soups, and so that's an easy one to get. Like if you have the privilege to order online and it comes quickly to you. Otherwise, I keep bone broth in my fridge, and I'll just use that. Or there's lots of companies that are doing a great job. I also love Kettle and Fire. I can find them at Whole Foods and lots of health food stores. So that's a tip. I'll also leave a link for the bone broth latte. That one's one of my favorites. But if you're off the dairy, no worries. But it is important. What I love to share is how we add collagen to it. So collagen in the bone broth elixir, it's really easy to assimilate building blocks. So the collagen helps to give those amino acids, those like protein building blocks in the body, so that the body can repair itself. And we, as a species, these bodies are so very perfectly designed, designed so well to repair itself. And what happens though is over time, as we age and there's different stressors, each of us have our own unique situation. Like my body is very different than yours. So I can share ideas of like what works for me, what's worked for many of my clients, and give some ideas. But then at the end of the day, we've got to try things. And what I love to do is try things in a small scale and try them for you. So I'm done with the days of like, let's do a 7-day juice fast. You will not hear that from me. You will not hear that from me. However, I do very much value the art of resting the digestion. And in some of my programs, I call it the art of intermittent fasting. It's how to find a fasting lifestyle that can be sustainable for you and your social needs, your family needs, your work schedule. How it works for me would need to be different how it works for you. So I love to share that with people. And today's an idea, especially as we're going into the next handful of days with probably big meals with lots of friends. Well, or not, it's so different this year. COVID Christmas is different. And so we might be eating more food because we feel sad. And what I want to say is, throw in there a day of prep to strengthen the digestion. So relieve the digestion, before you go into that big holiday meal, strengthen before or afterwards. Give your body some relief. And what I want to say in all this is I want to be 100% clear in that, people call them cheat meals. I don't like to refer to it as cheat meals. It may be outside of the protocol you're working with or your diet. One time is, that's life. We're choosing to be flexible. But when that opens up a cascade of like all weekend or all week, and then there's feelings of like fatigue and overwhelm, and that's actually what's going on in here too. So there's a difference between once versus spiraling out into habits that are other than compassionate or loving to our internal system. So I'm Tara, the metabolic therapist, happy to just sit here and chat with you about ways in which you can practice starting today, giving your digestion some relief. So if you have any questions, go ahead, type them here. If you learned anything, give me a thumbs up or a like, and share this with your friends. I'm going to be back here again on next Tuesday to share more with you at the Trust Your Gut Club, where we talk about all things digestive wellness, as well as emotional and like our habits and our emotions, like how that impacts what we choose to eat, when we choose to eat. Many of us have caught ourselves in some emotional patterns, and we turn to like emotional foods, and and such. And this year has been wonky to say the least. There's been lots of like in-home time and, around the same people. They're calling it like social isolation and social suffocation, and how this impacts our psyche and our well-being deserves care and attention to how we're choosing to self-care and consume. So when we remember that what we put into our mouth is actually for fuel, it's to fuel this luscious, gorgeous body to feel strong and active and smart and capable in our days. And when that's not happening for us, we can be honest with ourselves and ask for help, because you don't have to do this alone. And a lot of folks, me included, have struggled many years with various ailments that maybe have been diagnosed or maybe haven't been diagnosed yet. The impact, the repercussions are real nonetheless. How many food allergens have we had, whether it's to gluten or to tomatoes, or I found out this year that I have an allergen to almonds, and I didn't know that. And I didn't know until I took them completely out of my diet, and then was able to see like, oh, I'm actually able to stretch more or reach more, or there's some like, wow, like, is that related to the almonds? Well, that was the only thing I've taken out. So then you can add back in and then see how you feel. So elimination protocols are what I love to work with. They're not easy, and they're reliable because it's your body. And we receive feedback and cues from our body. And sometimes the blood tests, accurate and helpful, yet they change a lot, right? And then based on, our unique situations, there's a way to practice taking something out, reintroducing it, and then seeing how the body feels. But maybe that's for the new year, because it is a big commitment. However, for now, I want to share with you the art of simply letting the digestion rest and skip a meal. And, if you are, skip the meal that is usually like your biggest, for lack of a better term, most complicated, and switch it out with something super easy to digest, that's low carb and supportive of insulin sensitivity, and easy to absorb and assimilate. So that's plenty for now. I'm Tara, the metabolic therapist. Super happy for you choosing to be here with me today at the Trust Your Gut Club. All the best to you and yours during this holiday season. Let's make it happy and give your loved ones a little bit extra hugs. Hug and love. So thanks so much, everybody. Have a beautiful day. Happy holidays to you. Aloha.